this is all I'm going to say about minerals, but most of you guys kind of have a feel. You know what your mineral challenges are, but if you don't, you should get your water tested, because there's some things we can't manage our way out of. You got too much sodium and chloride in the water, you can't manage your way out of that. You've got to fix it. So have a mineral analysis done. I'll be happy to share this spreadsheet with Val. She can pass it on to you guys. You can plug your numbers in. And then, you know, if it's out of compliance, it'll be red. If it's okay, it'll be green. So that can kind of give you a peace of mind. Hey, are we on track, or do we need to fix something? Kind of switch gears just a little bit and just kind of talk about troubleshooting water. And what I encourage folks to do, and Coast, right? I'm saying it right. Coast kind of said it this morning, you know, look at things with new eyes. And I encourage you to look at your water systems the same way. You know, we come in, we get comfortable, we start missing the obvious because it's part of the scenery. So, you know, do a water system inventory. Check to see if all those drinkers are actually working. Make sure that your bird-to-drinker ratios are proper. How old is the system? You know, if they're 25-year-old nipples or regulators, you might be giving up some performance. You might need to get it going. What's the distribution lines made of? Are there any dead-end lines in your system that could be feeding back bacteria that you can't flush? How far is distribution from source to the barns? All of these are kind of questions that you need to have a feel for, so that you maybe can go about fixing some problems that might be occurring. Your injector sites. How are they managed during the flock? I love the top picture here, because, you know, they put a trash can liner in there, and once they're finished injecting, they throw it out. So that keeps it very sanitary. How are we manage that injector between blocks? I've seen too many times where we do what we need to do injecting, then we forget about it. And then somebody scrambles because they got to inject something, in that bucket and the hose and everything's full of mold. So do not let the injector site become the source of problems for you. Do you have enough water? When was the last time that you looked at how many liters per minute you had in the barn coming in, or at the end of a line? How many liters per minute's flowing? This is a great little tool. It can measure either gallons or liters, about $16, Amazon.com, and you can get a lot of useful information. Water consumption. You know, this is kind of some water consumption patterns from about 2000 versus 2011 is the red line. And that's 4 years old now. But take-home message is the geneticists, you know, they're selecting these birds for a healthy appetite. And water is correlated to, you know, feed consumption. These guys were drinking almost 40% more water the first week. Make sure your systems are keeping up with what the modern bird needs. Don't short them on water, because I can promise you, if they don't have enough water, then you're going to get the low weights, the high feed conversions, and they'll look beautiful, but they're not making the money. Don't create restriction points. In our area, a lot of new big barns were going in, and they came up with this really cool hose that as you raise your water line, it just folded right up. Well, I couldn't even put my finger into it. It created a restriction point. So as they were waking these birds up in the morning and they were eating and hitting the drinkers, there wasn't enough water. So we put on a big hose to those regulators, problems went away. They were making their weights and their feed conversions at that point. So don't create restriction points. Monitor your drinker flow. When was the last time that you checked to make sure that drinker was putting out the amount of water that the manufacturer said it should for the age of the birds? We got into a challenge with a couple of our houses and we settle them each individually. 2 of the houses just kept coming in light, high feed conversions. We started checking those drinkers. Well, our chlorination program had hardened the regulator seals. They weren't increasing pressure even though we were turning to increase it. Changed those out, fixed our weight and our feed conversion challenges. So check your drinkers. Make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing for the age of that bird. What temperature should the birds have starting out? Should it be warm, room temperature, cold? What temperature should, the first 4 days? Well, that question came up, and so I was lucky enough to have a couple of young guys who spent round the clock 4 days in our barn, checking the water and adjusting it on different pens of birds to just see what they like. The first 4 days, well, they don't much care for hot. They didn't mind the cold, they didn't mind the warm, but if it was hot, they didn't want to drink it. And once we started giving that weight up by day 14, it's really hard to get it back. So I had a grower the other day say, well, I flush my lines out, we get fresh, clean water for those babies. Well, good for you. Now, maybe if it's 40 below out, that might not be a perfect idea. Maybe you want to put a little time in there to warm that water up. But the key here is as they get up and going, get them fresh, clean water in there. Maybe day 2, 3. In fact, there was a lady that heard my talk in England. She started flushing her lines every day. And she swears that now their birds drink more water. So they like that fresh, clean water. So kind of, you're going to have to understand what the challenges of really cold are to you. But on average, they like that fresh, clean water. And you can err on the cooler side to getting that water. So kind of problem solving, cover the basics. What's the water supply? Municipal, well, pond, other. What's your water supply? Understand it. Know what's in it. Have a mineral analysis done. Look at a total bacteria count. Do some swabbing in your system. Find out if you might need to put a little more work into cleaning your system. And if you do clean your system, clean the underground lines, the distribution lines, and the barn lines. Both make a big, big difference. How old's your water system? How old the drinkers? Any repairs been done to the system? Had a breeder operation that was great performing, then all of a sudden it's like you flipped a switch, E. coli, 3 flocks in a row. Till we got to talk and they said, well, the well went out. We pulled all that cabling, laid it across out on the ground, stuffed it back in. They'd contaminated their well with E. coli. Until we cleaned that up, they weren't able to, turn their performance around. So it's the little things that we kind of just take for granted that can turn into big challenges for us. So with that, I love to show this, in, wine there is wisdom, in beer there's freedom, in water there's bacteria. So we just need to accept that and, and just kind of stay on top of our water sanitation program. The birds that we have now, they're fantastic for what we want them to do, but they don't have a lot of forgiveness for stressors. Don't let water be a stressor for you.